I've been in some not so great relationships, and after many years of trying to figure this out, I finally was able to create a healthy, loving relationship. And that's the relationship I'm in now. And there's a number of different things that I've learned on that journey from not so great relationships to healthy love that I want to share with you here today. So that's what today's video is about. 7 things I've learned about healthy love, about relationships on the journey from bad relationships to good ones. So welcome if you're new here. My name is Lindsay. I am the Real Love Alchemist, and I help you go from bad relationships to real love with the magic of subconscious work. So if you're curious to learn more about how I do that, click on the link in the description. All right, so the first thing that I've learned in my healthy relationship after toxic ones is that I would actually much rather have the stability that comes with a healthy relationship versus the roller coaster that often comes with toxic relationships, even though that was not always the case in the beginning. So I actually talk about this a lot in some of my other videos. I've talked about this, how when you go from toxic relationships to healthy ones, there's this transition period. And in that transition period, you can miss a lot of the intense emotions that come from being in toxic relationships. It can feel like a healthy relationship is kind of just boring, and it can be tough while your nervous system is recalibrating to this healthy love to feel completely fulfilled. Because when we're in toxic relationships, the highs of that situation can feel, in a weird way, really fulfilling. It can feel like it's kind of filling this emotional void that maybe we had before we met this person. Even though the lows can be very, very low, those highs can be really intoxicating. So when you transition to healthy love, it's a lot calmer, it's a lot more peaceful. And so you can feel like something's missing sometimes. And so I went through that transition period, and that's kind of how it was for me in the beginning. But as my nervous system recalibrated to this healthy love, as I went through and released my subconscious blocks, as I did a lot of energy healing on myself, which is what I do now for clients. And once I went through that, then I got to the point where my nervous system calmed down. I wasn't really in that place of longing for those feelings anymore. And I realized, oh my gosh, this relationship, this healthy relationship, is so much better than what I had before. Even though the feelings were not as intense, it's still so much more fulfilling than anything I experienced in the past. And sometimes when I say this, when I say like the feelings were less intense, I don't mean that like I don't have any feelings for my partner. I do. I feel a lot of love for my partner. It's not like that. But the intensity of the emotions, it's not as intense because there's not a lot of other emotions mixed in with the love. Like I've talked about this in other videos. A lot of times we can mistake longing for love. And so for me, my definition of love in the past was feelings of love mixed with anxiety, mixed with feelings of longing, mixed with feelings of fear. You know, like there was a lot mixed in there. And that was what I called love. And that's not what I experience now in this healthy relationship. It's much less intense. It's more just love. And now that I've been in this relationship for a few years now, yeah, it's so much better. I would much rather have this feeling than all of those highs and lows that I initially didn't want to let go of. Another really, to me, shocking thing that I learned in a healthy relationship was that having boundaries doesn't push the right people away. It actually draws healthy people towards you. And I say it was shocking for me because truly I had no idea. I literally thought that if I had boundaries, if I had needs or certain standards that I wanted to be met, I would push people away. Because that was my experience. That's what I was getting in the past. When I tried to have boundaries or state needs in these unhealthy relationships, I did push those people away. So I assumed I can't have boundaries and I can't have needs, or I'm just not going to be able to be in a relationship. So as I was healing from these toxic relationships, I was like, you know what? I'm going to have boundaries. I'm going to state my needs. I'm going to state my limits. And if this person doesn't like it, all right, fine. Maybe I'll just have to be alone. Maybe I will just figure out how to be happy alone, and that's just going to be what it is. That is not what happened. Interestingly, I set those boundaries. I stated my needs. I did push away people who were not right for me. I did push away people who were not interested in respecting those boundaries or meeting those needs. But what it did do was it signaled to healthy potential partners that, oh, this is a woman who is healthy herself. She knows that she can set boundaries. She speaks her needs. This is someone who's emotionally available, and this is the kind of person that I'm looking for. Because that's me too. I have limits and I have needs that I want to be met. So don't take your experience from the past where maybe you tried to set boundaries or tried to share your needs and this person or people didn't respond well to them. That does not mean that in order to have a relationship, you can't have boundaries and you can't have needs. No. If you speak up about your boundaries and your needs, then you will again draw the right people towards you. They're going to see that you're healthy and you're able to communicate and you're emotionally available. And those are green flags that they're looking for, just like how I would tell you to look for those things in another person. The next thing I learned in my now healthy relationship is that attraction really can grow if there is what I would call a baseline of attraction. So sometimes we hear this, attraction can grow, and we try to move forward with somebody who we just really aren't feeling it at all with. And so that's not what I'm talking about here. What I'm talking about is if there's just a little bit of attraction, or you find someone objectively attractive, but you're not sure how much you're attracted to them in the beginning, then it absolutely can grow if this is a relationship where the two of you are compatible, it's healthy, you're emotionally available, both of you can communicate well. Then yeah, I've seen it absolutely grow. That's what's happened in my relationship. Initially, I wasn't so sure about how I felt about this person. I just knew that I wanted to keep getting to know them, and I was drawn towards them and their presence, and I felt a little attraction in the very beginning. And I said, all right, well, you know what? That's enough for me to see what can grow here. And I can say now it certainly has. The more that we have healed together, the more experiences we have together, the more love that we feel for each other, absolutely attraction can grow. So if this is you and you're wondering if it can grow, yes, give it a try. So another thing I learned in my now healthy relationship is kind of what I talked about earlier here, but having needs actually makes you attractive to the right people. So I didn't know that before. I thought that having no needs is what made me attractive, and it did to certain people, don't get me wrong. It did for people who were emotionally available or people who were abusive, who really had no interest in meeting my needs. I came out of an abusive relationship thinking that the best way to be was to completely heal myself so that I had no needs. That's how far I had gone down that way of thinking. I healed and I came out of that, and I realized if I wanted a healthy relationship, I had to express my needs. And again, like I talked about earlier, I was shocked that the more I expressed my needs, it actually became very, very clear who was right for me and who wasn't. It was like the path kind of just cleared. The people who didn't want to meet them, or who were intimidated by them, or who didn't like them, they moved away. They essentially eliminated themselves from the process. And the people who were interested in having a healthy relationship and who liked the fact that I expressed their needs, they moved in and they made themselves apparent that, hey, I'm a person who is interested in all of you. The fun stuff you have to share, the good times we have together, and the times where you're not feeling so great, the times where you need something and you need to share it with me. Because that's what healthy love is. It's not suppressing yourself. It's not suppressing how you feel and the things that you need. It's bringing them up. It's communicating about them in a kind, respectful way. And so when you do that in the dating process, that shows healthy partners that you're on the same level as them, so to speak. You're up for what a healthy relationship requires, and you're emotionally available. So here's another pretty interesting thing I learned in my now healthy relationship. I don't need to find someone who is perfect for me. What actually really makes me happy is finding someone who is compatible with me in all the most important ways. That's actually all that I need. So going into dating when I was younger, I thought that I really had to find this person who was perfect for me. And so for me, that meant like they gave me all the right feelings and they checked off all the right boxes, and really they just made me feel good. And as you probably know, that did not go so well. That got me into not so great relationships. And so the funny thing was, coming out of toxic relationships, I was even more particular about what I was looking for. Initially, I actually wanted not just the things that we need in a healthy relationship, like good communication, emotional availability, someone who could communicate effectively. I was also looking for all of the things that I had on my checklist from before, like wanting a person who is a certain height or has a certain physical look or makes a certain amount of money. And it took me a while before I came out of that, and I realized, you know what, actually, I don't need somebody to be over 6 feet. I don't need this exact specific physical look in order to be happy. Because at that point, when I started to come out of that, I was like, all right, I'm going to give different types a try. I'm going to date out of my specific type that I was used to dating in the past. And let me see if I can feel attraction for a different type of person than I'm used to. And I noticed as I was dating my current partner that I was actually happy. I was actually really surprised at how happy I could be with someone who was out of my normal type that I used to date. And as I was dating this person and I was checking things off my list of like healthy relationship behaviors. And these are some of the things I share with my clients when they join my Living Free Finding Love program. If you're interested in that, you can check out the link in the description. It's a 12-week program where I basically give you everything that I have to offer as far as going from bad relationships to real love. I give you messaging support so you can text me whenever you want with questions or concerns that you might have. I give you an online course with all of my resources, all of my homework assignments, guided meditations, tapping sessions, and also 12 one-on-one energy healing and coaching sessions with me. So it's an amazing transformation package. If you're interested in it, again, check out the link. But yeah, so I was doing my own dating and looking at the different healthy relationship behaviors that you want to look for in a partner. And I was realizing that, you know what, if I have these specific things, which are the things that are most important to me, the things that I value the most, the rest of the stuff just isn't important anymore. And don't get me wrong, we still want things like attraction and having the same values, like sharing some similar interests and wanting the same things out of life. But yeah, I realized that I didn't need somebody who was perfect, who had all the exact specific things that I was looking for. I was already happy with having the most important things that I wanted in this person. Another thing that I learned in my healthy relationship is that the love that I had in the past, that wasn't real love. It was actually mostly me playing out what I would call like unconscious wounds and attachment patterns. Real healthy love feels much more like a choice every day to be in the relationship. So let me explain it this way. When I was younger and in unhealthy relationships, it almost felt inevitable. I like using that word because inevitable to me means like, I don't even really feel like I'm making that much of a choice here. I was clearly making a choice, but it didn't feel like it. It just felt like I got pulled into these dynamics kind of unconsciously, kind of like, oh, I don't know what's happening. I'm just falling in love here. I'm just being pulled toward this person. And I really didn't do much thinking about it. And now in hindsight, I realize that those were most often old wounds pulling me towards this person where it felt very familiar, it felt very right, it felt like home, and that wasn't real love. In my current healthy relationship now, I do feel pulled in a way, but it's different. I feel pulled in a uplifting, positive way versus just like this force, this unknown force pulling me forward. It's more like I feel drawn to this person, but it feels much more like I am choosing every day to be here. I'm not here because of some unconscious thing that I don't even know what's going on. I'm just being pulled. No, it feels like every day I'm waking up and asking myself, am I still happy here? Is this still where I want to be? And I think about it for a moment and I say, yes, this is still where I want to be. That's the big difference it feels for me. The pull, the unconscious pull in the past from the unhealthy patterns versus feeling like a choice to be here every single day. And here's the last thing that I learned in my healthy relationship compared to toxic ones before. I now know that I can actually be so much happier in a relationship than I ever could have imagined. And I'm not saying this from a place of like, oh my God, look how great my relationship is. It's not like that. I had no idea how good a relationship could get because I thought I was happy at times in my previous relationships, mostly just because I had like a person there. I could say I was in a relationship. We would hang out together sometimes. There would be some good times. There was some attraction. But my standards for happiness in a relationship were quite low. I really had no idea how good a healthy relationship could feel. I had no idea that I could consistently feel happy and loved and supported in a different kind of relationship than I had had in the past. That's the crazy thing. I thought I was so happy back then because I just had no idea how good it could get. The potential for my happiness here is so much different. Like, I used to feel these really ecstatic moments of happiness with unavailable partners. And back then I was like, well, can't get any better than that. This is just like as good as it gets. But now that I have a partner who's emotionally available and all in so many ways, oh my gosh, it doesn't even come close. It's night and day. I am so much more happy in this relationship now than I ever was before. So if you're watching this video and you're like, well, how do I know if I'm experiencing real love? How do I know if I'm in a healthy relationship? Well, I wrote an ebook just for you. So I'm going to leave that link also here in the description. It's called The Ultimate Guide to Real Love, 20 Things You Need to Know. It's a free instant download, so sign up for it right here below. And since I've been talking about my current healthy relationship, if you're curious to know about my partner and his experience with us getting together and how we met, then check out this video here.